Gamer Leaf, the podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
In a post-apocalypse setting, they're delivering goods, food, water, and guns to various enclaves that are in need for it, all the while trying to avoid the raiders that are out and trying to get them, and dealing with different events and things that happen. You all work for the same company, so you can't attack the other players, but there are some different ways that you can try to get in their way. You're competing to be the first player to get 3 first-class priority contracts done.
Cool beans. Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me either. But that is, like you said, that's the story of Wasteland Express Delivery Service, a new game that is out. And we're lucky enough to have the creator or the designer of that game on with us tonight, Jonathon Gilmore. Is that correct? That's how you fit into it?
Yep, I'm one of the 3 designers on it. That's correct.
Okay, cool beans. Let's see here. So, let's go back to a little bit in the beginning, if that's okay with you, Jonathon. How did you get into board gaming?
Well, I got into board gaming probably about 9 or 10 years ago, I think. My wife and I had just had our first child, and we were spending a lot of time watching TV and watching movies, and I didn't really like how much time we were spending doing like non-interactive stuff like that. So I grew up playing Dungeons and Dragons and different board games and Magic the Gathering. So I knew that the board game industry was different from back then. So I did a little bit of research, found Board Game Geek, and picked out a few games. Some really, back then 10 years ago. Bonanza and Carcassonne and Ticket to Ride. I picked up those, and we played those with ourselves. My wife and I played them, and then we played them with her family, and we really enjoyed them. And then we kind of branched out into some different games. Then eventually, probably after like a year or 2 of gaming, Jamie threw a surprise party for my birthday. And she just invited over a bunch of people, and we played games all day. And we're like, man, we need to do this more often. So then we started doing a monthly game day where we'd play, once a month. We'd pick a Saturday and play games from about 11 a.m. until whenever we stopped. And that was that. We've been doing our monthly game days for about 7 years now.
Oh, cool beans. The same people from the original crew?
Yeah, a lot of the same people, and more. I think our Facebook group is up to like 150, 200 people, somewhere right around there. And, they don't all show up, but usually we have like between 20 and 30 people that show up every month for our game day.
Well, there you go. Cool beans. So how does one go from just wanting to get away from the TV and play games and have a surprise party to designing games?
Well, I was working at a factory programming robots, and it was a pretty creatively stifling job. And again, when I was younger, I used to do a lot of creative stuff, like a lot of art and writing and stuff like that. And I felt like where I was at, like I didn't have a creative outlet anymore. So I did. I was playing board games a lot. So I decided, like, hey, I'll try, making some content for board games. So, I did a little bit of fan-made content where I made, like, some characters for Last Night on Earth and some HeroScape stuff. And then from there, I was like, well, I have an idea. Maybe I'll try to make a board game. Because I had an idea that I thought was pretty neat. And, that game was really bad. After we played it, we decided that one wasn't any good, but then, I kept at it, and eventually I released Pocket Dungeon, which is a free print and play game that you can find on BGG still. And Pocket Dungeon was nominated for a Golden Geek Award. It didn't win, but it was still nominated, which is really cool. And that kind of, made me feel like, oh, well, maybe I'll keep doing this. So then, I designed a couple other games, and one of them was Dead of Winter. And I was going to just release it as a print and play game, just like Pocket Dungeon. But when I was testing it with my local game group, we played it, and Isaac happened to be in my game group. He's my co-designer on Dead of Winter, and he played it, and he was like, "Hey, this has some really good stuff. Do you want to co-design this game with me, or like I can just take the stuff that I like from it and I'll use it in my own game?" So I said, "Hey, co-designing sounds great." So he kind of pushed me to, not release it as a free game, to bring it to market. So then I did, and it was a success. So I've been using that ever since to, try to continue to move into the market.
Cool beans. Yeah, I want to say, yeah, we have that. Unfortunately, we haven't gotten it to the table. My wife has all these pretty games, and we haven't got any of them to the table yet. Well, a lot of them to the table. It's been kind of busy interviewing Kickstarter people and with their health. But yeah, it looks like a fun game. For other people who may not have gotten that one to the table, what can you tell us about Dead of Winter?
Is Dead of Winter on your shame of shelf like it is mine? Well, I know I'm dying to find out what John has to tell us about it. But we thought we'd wake you up so you don't hit the oncoming traffic, falling asleep listening to my voice. So we paused for this interruption. First off, I wanted to ask a very important question. For the Switch, would you like me to review Double Dragon from the original Nintendo games or Double Dragon Part 4? I really need to know. Comment on this Facebook post that this listed at so I can know what game you want me to review for Adventures in Application Acquisition. Now, it's time for, you guessed it, Kickstarter Corner. And this one just launched yesterday. It would be yesterday. It's called Dungeon Allies. And it is a worker placement game where dungeon dice are the workers. How is that? And he had a really small goal, going for $40. Everybody who backs this game gets a box. I'd never heard of that. It's untold of. And so right now he's about 3,000 some odd plus funded of his goal. And so, yeah. And he's got 58 days to go, so don't worry. But I would get on this one. It ends the 30th of March. So check it out on the Kickstarters. And a couple other we have for you include, but are not limited to, these next ones. We have Warriors of Jogu, Feint. And this game, we've told you about it before, but it is in which you would outwit your opponent in this tactical card game of bluffing and deduction. Really close to their goal at the time of this recording. And they have through the 16th of February. So make sure you check out this great game by Monsoon Publishing. And then don't forget about Hermetica. It's a 2-player abstract game, a strategy board game, where clever combos and dynamic terrain create a battle of choice, tactics, and wits. This game, they're really close to their goal as well. And I thought when I listened to, the Family Gamers podcast, with Andrew and Anitra, I thought that they might like this because Anitra, she's really into abstract games. So I think she would really like this game as well, just listening to the podcast. That's also another great podcast to check out, The Family Gamers. I can leave a link in the show notes for you all as well. And then we've got Dead Till Dawn, Zombie Survival, horror card game. Experience a unique zombie apocalypse storyline with your friends, full of choices, voting, chance, and alliances, combat, and betrayals. They're getting rather close to their goal, and they still got 20 some odd plus days to go. They go through the 24th of February. Love the art on this game. It's amazing. So yeah, but it want to be 14 plus, so you don't want to bring your 3-year-old along with this game. But anyways, check it out on the Kickstarters. And then we've got Blockchain, the cryptocurrency game by Save Chiefs Games. It's an action-based strategy game for the new millennium. Mine, hack, trade, and store coins to be the first one to fill your vault. Now, if you remember back to our Hermetica interview with the creators of that, Chris Modica would really like this game because he actually, the applications he talked to were all about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. So yeah, definitely check this out over on the Kickstarters. And yeah, we had a couple of people, a couple of my friends on that I follow there on Kickstarter that liked it and backed it. It's Bluebeard Entertainment and Barry Doublet are backers. They're both backers. So yeah, check this out on the Kickstarters. It, like I said, I don't know if I said, but it goes through the 24th of February. You want to hear your game get mentioned on Getting Geeky with Game Relief? Make sure you go ahead and send us a message or on Facebook or email us at gamerelief@gamereliefgo.com, kind of like Pokemon Go, but gamereliefgo.com. We'd love to hear about your game and get it out to the masses and help them know about it. Anyways, we will let you go back and find out all about the game we want to bring to the table pretty soon here. Dead of Winter. Take it over, Jonathan.
Well, we call it a meta cooperative game. So it's not really semi-cooperative. Everybody has a main objective that has to be completed, but even if you're playing it fully cooperatively, everybody has their own secret goals that they have to compete to win the game. So even though we all have to do this specific thing to win, I may need to hoard a bunch of guns, and you may need to, hoard a bunch of food. And we all have our own goals. So, like the best zombie media, the zombies aren't really the threat in the game. The other players are. And, people watching out for their own, best interests are a big problem.
So it's like if you say, I want to say I've heard people say like if there's a bear after you, you don't need to outrun the bear, just your friends.
Well, not really, because if we all don't work together and complete the main objective, we don't win either.
Oh, okay, cool. So kind of
So,
cooperatively, but also you're going for your main goal.
yeah, exactly.
Cool. So everybody can win. Well, everybody in a sense can win, but there's only one main winner, or it just depends, I guess.
Well, it can be anything between we all lose and we all win. So, like, if you and I were playing, and we complete the main objective, and you also complete your main objective or your secret objective, you win. But if I don't complete my secret objective, I don't win, even though we did the main objective together.
Okay, and if I got my if I got my secret objective, but we didn't do the main objective, then we would lose. We would lose, and the game would win.
Yep, everybody would lose.
Oh, okay. Cool beans. And I want to say recently I've seen something. We another game we have but haven't got to the table. She likes to collect them, but unfortunately we haven't played them yet. Is Flick 'em Up. I want to say I saw something about a combo of Dead of Winter and Flick 'em Up. Did you have anything to do with that?
We did just release Dead of Winter Flick 'em Up. Unfortunately, I didn't get a chance to do very much work on it. The people at Pretzel Games did the majority of the work on that one, but they kind of showed it to me a couple times during the process, so I was able to give some ideas.
Cool beans. And so you talked of a new game, Wasteland Express Delivery Service. What can you tell us about that game?
Well, I kind of talked about the story and what the experience is of the game before, so I'll talk a little bit about the mechanics. It's a pick up and deliver game. So it's a little bit more Euro-y, where you're trying to buy goods and sell them. But there's also a lot of Ameritrash stuff where, there's events that are happening and combat. And it's not necessarily who makes the most money during the game. It's a race to complete 3 objectives. And there's 3 public objectives. But you can also get private ones as well. So there's lots of different ways to play and win.
Cool.
And it has a ton of variability.
Cool beans. Let's see here. So, do you have? It sounds like your games, at least those 2 or those 3, they have different different mechanics or whatnot. Do you have a favorite game mechanic when creating games or when playing games?
I don't. A lot of designers either describe themselves as mechanics first or theme first. I like to describe myself as experience first. So for me, I feel like the experience of the game is the most important thing. and I'll use whatever mechanics I have to use to get the players there. When I'm playing games, and I play a wide variety, so there isn't really a mechanic that I like, but I do really like it when games have negotiation in them.
Cool. So besides your games, maybe is there a favorite game that has negotiation in that you like?
Oh, absolutely. Cosmic Encounter is one of the few games that I rate a perfect 10.
Well, that's good. Why is that?
I think it's an example of how a game can be really well balanced by not being balanced at all. Every single alien is super broken and really powerful, but the game still has this beautiful balance to it in that, we all have these super broken powers and we're all super powerful.
Cool, Bean. So how does like being a designer and whatnot, do you ever like are you ever critical of the games you play, or how do you leave the designer at home or at work, I guess, at the office, and bring just a gamer to the game table, or does that ever happen?
It's definitely made it harder to do that. I tend to now, like, I've always been more about the experience of playing a game with other people than winning. So, like, I've never been super competitive. Because I'm not super competitive, I tend to not win a lot because I really don't care about winning. I just care about, having fun with my friends and exploring the game. So now more, I tend to try to find fun ways to play the game, or like try different things, or I spend a lot of my time, instead of thinking about the strategy, to think about like why they made these design decisions. So I can kind of separate that, but I tend to not want to, because I have more fun thinking about that stuff than not.
Well, there you go. That enhances your experience, so that's good. So let's see here. Of the games, I know we're told not to like have like if we have children, not to have a favorite child. But and I imagine it's the same way with games. But if you had to pick one of your games that you've created, do you have a favorite?
Oh, that's really tough. I would say it's really important to me that whenever I design a game, that a lot of designers will tell you that like once their game's published, they don't want to play it anymore. Because during the process we play the games a lot. I had probably played Dead of Winter like close to like probably over 100 times, probably closer to 200 before it came out. But since it's come out and I have the finished version, I've probably played it like another 180 times. So like I don't ever want to design a game that I don't want to keep playing. But I would probably say Dead of Winter is still like one of my most played. So I won't say that it's my favorite, but it's definitely the one I've played the most.
Cool. So do you have a favorite that hasn't been played as much, maybe?
Um, Man, it's almost like my favorite's always whatever the new thing I'm working on. I'm really excited for Dinosaur Island and to get a finished copy of that from the publisher so I can play the final version, because that's a game that I really enjoy.
Cool. And I want to say, was that on Kickstarter a while back ago?
Yep, that one was. It was on Kickstarter 4 or 5 months ago, and we're delivering at the end of this month.
Cool beans. So how many are in your docket? How many games have you created since that first one?
Well, I'll have 7 releases out this year. And previously I had 3 other ones. So I'll be at 10 games out by the end of the year. And then stuff that is not out, I think I just refreshed my whiteboard at work the other day, or at the office. I have 17 games with publishers right now and 21 that aren't at publishers yet.
Oh wow! So does that mean you're waiting for publishers on those, or how does that work? My wife was in the writing industry for a while, where you can go ahead and go through an agent, or you can self-publish and whatnot. Are those 21? Is that you're looking for publishers? Or it's hard to say right now.
Yeah, they're either not ready to show to publishers yet, or I haven't found a publisher for them yet. I'm really lucky in that because I've got several successful games under my belt. It opens a lot of doors for me. But even then, if the game isn't right for a publisher, like they'll still turn it down. So I still hear a lot of no's when I show games around. But yeah, those are all ones of either stuff that I'm working on or I just haven't found the right publisher for it yet.
Cool beans. And I some I'm real excited for. I don't remember if they're out yet. I think some of them might be, but Atari, they've made some games.
Yeah, so IDW Games got the license to 5 Atari titles, and we've announced 3 of them so far, and one of them came out at Gen Con, and they'll kind of be staggered. So Centipede came out at Gen Con, and that's available right now, and that's a 2 or 4 player game. And then the next one is going to be Missile Command, which is probably... It's real close to being one of my favorite games that I've designed. It's a 4 to 6 player fast paced negotiation game. So it's if you took the game Diplomacy and simplified it and shrunk it down to play in about half an hour to 45 minutes, and work with like people who haven't played heavy board games. So lots of negotiation, lots of yelling and shouting at each other. And then the third one will be Asteroids, and that'll be out later on.
Cool beans. And then the other ones, I imagine you can't let us know what they are, but that'll come out with time.
Yeah, they haven't announced the other 2 yet, but hopefully they will soon.
Cool beans. Yeah, so that's exciting. Yeah, I'm excited about those. I really like playing the Atari or whatnot. Did you have a favorite Atari game, or did you ever play any Atari games growing up?
So one of the interesting things that I've learned a lot about with this series is that, so the what they have the license to are just games that like Atari created and published. So like a lot of the Atari games that we love, aren't owned by Atari. They're owned by Namco or other ones. But I played a ton of Pitfall growing up. I couldn't even guess how many hours I played that.
Cool. And that's not owned by Atari, is it? Probably not.
I don't think so.
Cool. Yeah, I like Pitfall. That was pretty fun. I want to say somebody relaunched one, but I didn't like it as cool as the 8-bit or how many ever bit it was.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's cool. Yeah. So let's see here, and let's see here. So the games that you have created or that are with publishers or whatnot. No, actually, the ones that you have created that are out and whatnot. Would there be anything that if you could, you'd go back and change, knowing what you know now?
I think we always have that as designers. It's one of those things that I'm very, very critical of anything that I create. So, back when I was younger and I used to do art, and I think a lot of people are like this, they can pick out every little thing that's wrong with a thing that they created. So definitely with Dead of Winter, after it came out, the 2-player version of it, a lot of people weren't enjoying. And I came up with a better version of the 2-player game, and I wish I had come up with that like 4 months before, or else it would have made it into the game.
So it's not in the game?
Well, no, it does play 2 players, but I came up with a better version of the 2-player game.
Oh boy!
So I posted it on Board Game Geek. It's it's free. People can play it. It just uses everything it doesn't add any components to the game. It just changes the way that you play it with 2 players.
Okay, and so we'd be able to find that on Board Game Geek?
Yeah, it's in the variant section. I posted it publicly for people to play, and it plays fine. Like, there's a lot of people that love it 2-player the way that it is out of the box, but you don't have the chance of having the hidden betrayer.
Oh, okay.
So the variant I came up with adds a hidden betrayer back into it.
Oh, okay, cool. So like if me and my wife or me and you sat down to play it, one of us would be like the bad guy, I guess, but it would be hidden?
Well, actually, so the way that it works is pretty neat. I based it a little bit on the there's a game design thought experiment called The Prisoner's Dilemma. So the way that it works is, in the main game, there's a chance that one person may have a betrayal secret objective. And if you have a betrayal secret objective, you win by dropping morale down to 0 and making everybody lose the game. But you also have to achieve the things that are on your secret objective. So it's not just make the other players lose, it's make the other players lose and do these other things. With my variant, both players have a regular secret objective and a betrayal secret objective. And so if we complete the main objective, then it finishes like normal. We reveal our regular secret objective, and if we achieve our secret objective, we win, and if we didn't, we lose. If the game ends in failure, we both reveal our betrayal secret objectives. If one of us betrayed, then that person wins the game. But if both of us betrayed each other, we both lose.
Okay, so there's still a way for one person to win with your variant?
Yeah, but it's also possible that if we both tried to betray each other, we both lose.
Cool beans. Let's see here. So yeah, that sounds really cool. Well, thanks from me and the other people out there for posting that for us. For per se, they don't like the one that came with the game, so that's awesome doing that. Now,
No, absolutely.
cool. Now, do you have anything in the docket that you can tell us about? Any games that might be going to Kickstarter in the near future or anything?
Well, I just had the Kickstarter end tonight for News at 11, which is a kind of a party / storytelling game where all the players are the members of a news crew telling the daily news, which is a lot of fun. I'm trying to think. Upcoming, it won't be on Kickstarter, but I have a cooperative game based on a comic book called Wayward. That one's going to be a lot of fun. We're working on expansions for Wasteland Express Delivery Service and Dinosaur Island already. And I'm really excited about doing stuff with both of those games.
Cool beans. So for those of us kind of new to the industry like myself or anybody who might be interested in the whole design process, can you go over that with us really quick on how you go from an idea to the finished game? I know there's like play testing and all kinds of stuff. How does one go about that?
Sure, and it's widely different for every designer. And I've talked to a lot of different designers about it. But my process is generally that, I'll come up with an idea either for, an experience that I want the players to have, or, and that's generally how I'll start. I'll be like, oh, I want a game that's about wizards, and we're time wizards traveling through time, and, these are the cool things that we can do. So I'll start with that. And I'm a huge proponent of the design philosophy called the fail faster philosophy, which is that the goal of it is to get the game onto the table as quickly as possible, because the first iteration of it is probably going to be really bad and fail. But you take what works in it and then you build on it. And you do that as quickly as possible. So a lot of times, like if I have a game idea, I'll build a prototype, play it, throw out half the prototype, and then make a new version of it, in the same day. I'm lucky that I can do it like that because I'm full time. But even if it takes a week to do it, I think it's really important to get the game out of your head and onto the table as quickly as possible. And not spend a lot of time doing stuff like worrying about how it looks, or naming cards or putting art on it. Just take post-it notes or index cards and write on with a pencil. Don't worry about laying everything out in a computer if you don't have to. So then, once I've tried it, I'll go back and I'll change things. Usually for my second or third draft, once I kind of have an idea of what works and what doesn't, I'll start to lay it out on the computer and start using spreadsheets and a couple different programs. And then it's just depending on the game, it's play testing it, another 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 times, however many times it takes to, get the game right and make it what it needs to be. And then once I'm happy with the playtesting results and I feel like the game's, probably, 90% complete, I'll start to pitch it to publishers and, go to conventions and show it around and try to find a home for it.
Cool. Do publishers ever approach you and say, "Hey, I have this idea. Can you make a game for me?"
Yeah, that's happening more and more. I'm very lucky because of that, because of the successes that I've had in the industry so far. It's definitely not the way that it typically happens. But there's been, I've had a couple publishers and say, hey, with the Atari line, IDW came up to me and they're like, we have these 5 Atari licenses. Do you want to find people for each one and like kind of curate the series and make the games work? So, I said, absolutely. So it happens sometimes, and I enjoy that challenge as well, because then, I don't have to come up with the idea of what to do first.
Well, there you go. Cool. And going back to the playtesting, you said it can take anywhere from 10 to 100 times. Is there a point where I guess it probably depends on the designer or whatnot, but is there a point where you know it's right, or does that depend on what other people tell you, or how do you figure that out?
I don't think I'm ever 100% happy with a design. I think at best I'm 90% happy. And usually 90% is like where, like, when a game gets to where it's just I'm like making little tiny numerical tweaks, but everything else works, that's typically when I'll show it to a publisher.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool, beans. So going through the traditional publishers and whatnot, like it seems like a lot of your games are in Kickstarter, are in actual stores and whatnot. Do you have thoughts on Kickstarter games?
I think it's a great resource. I've had a couple games go through Kickstarter. Dinosaur Island did, Vault Wars did, News 11 did, Pathline Shadow went to Kickstarter. So, almost half my games have been through Kickstarter. I think it's a great resource, and I think it's really good for companies that are, either so. A lot of people don't feel like big companies like Cool Mini or not should be on Kickstarter, and I disagree. Kickstarter is not just for small indie companies that can't afford to do it. Kickstarter is also for companies who want to do projects that they can't guarantee or that will be successful. Cool Mini or not would, if they spent the exorbitant amount of money to make all the molds and produce a game and it didn't sell well, I mean, it could put them out of business. So doing something like Kickstarter for them makes a lot of sense. Or like with Dinosaur Island, Pandasaurus could have brought it directly to directly to print like they did with PlayStation Express, but we wanted to offer like a really, really nice deluxe edition. So, we used Kickstarter to judge what the interest was in that deluxe edition, and the deluxe edition will only be available through Kickstarter. So, I think it's a good tool.
Cool, beans. Yeah, and I want to say I was speaking with somebody who used to work for Cool Mini or not. The guy who created Wander, it was just recently on Kickstarter. Barnacle Bay, I forget the exact name of it, but he used to work for Cool Mini or not, and he says even though people didn't know about it, I don't know what it's at now, but when they first started out, or even a little while ago, they only had like 5 employees.
Yeah, they're not a huge company. They're a little bit bigger now. I know several people who work there, but I mean, it's not like even when a company raises $3 million, they're not making $3 million. I mean, they're making a quarter of that at best.
Yeah, because I know you got to do a lot of taxes, and then to Kickstarter, and then to create it and stuff and whatnot.
Yeah, absolutely. And stuff like minis is a huge upfront cost.
Yeah, cool. Cool beans. Yeah, let's see here. So yeah, what would be your advice you might give to somebody who has an idea and wants to create a game?
I say if you have an idea for a game, absolutely do it. Try to get that idea on the paper and play it as quickly as you can, and then get it in front of other people. Like, don't just play it with your friends and your family. Go to your game store, go to conventions, try to find other people to play it, and get their input. Um, and have fun with it. I mean, if you're not enjoying the process of creation and you're not making a game that you're going to be happy with, then there's no reason to do it.
Cool beans. So yeah, we wanted to thank you for coming on with us tonight, Jonathan, and mind us coming to joining your Facebook group and coming to your home to play games or secretly stalk you. How would people go about finding out about you or your games?
Well, a great resource is Twitter. You can find me at John Gilmour, JonGilmour, or on Board Game Geek. I'm J Gilmour on there. Those are both great ways to find me and get a hold of me.
Cool. We'll make sure we leave all this in the show notes so we have notes to show for it. And what our last, you said you listened to some of our podcasts. The last portion of our podcast is Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an application, be it for the cell phone, tablet, or a video game or whatnot. I know you said you like to have the interaction or whatnot, but is there any kind of applications you use? And they don't even have to be related to board games or whatnot. Is there any applications you use a lot of?
Oh yeah, I'm a huge computer guy. I come from a programming background. So I mean, one of my biggest things is I use Google Drive all the time for everything. I keep all my playtesting notes in there. I'll use Google Forms to collect playtesting data from other people that are playtesting it. So Google Drives for me is a must-have. Like, I don't know how I would function without it.
Cool beans. So if you own the rights to Google Drive, what would be one thing you would do to make it better, Jonathan?
I would make Google Drawings better. I would put a lot of time and effort into adding functionality to that, so it was not necessarily closer to Photoshop, but just more versatile. I mean, they added one of my biggest requested features this week, which is Noun Project integration, which is a website where there's icons and stuff. So they took one of my huge checklist items off, oddly.
There you go. Cool. So yeah, thanks to Google for doing that. So one thing, me and my wife have been having a little bit of a dispute or whatnot. What would you consider an icon? Is that like an emoji, or is that something that's clickable?
Oh, so I mean, like any kind of small, easily to identify graphic. So like on a card, like if you see a little sword next to an attack value, like I consider that an icon.
Okay, well I guess she's right again. Well, she says she's always right anyway, so there we go. Cool. Well, yeah, we wanted to thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. I know we kept you up way past your bedtime. It's a couple hours after we were going to do this, but we really appreciate you taking the time to be on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, Jonathan.
Oh, I appreciate you accommodating me in my horrible schedule. I'm happy to be here.
Cool. Well, yeah, we'll catch you on the flip side. Thanks, Jonathan.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Glad we could have Jonathan on the show. I recently picked up one of the games he designed, Centipede, which is based off of an Atari game. Can't wait to bring that to the table, nor Dead of Winter. What Jonathon Gilmore games have you guys played or brought to the table or waiting to get to the table? Let us know. Comment on our Facebook post about this episode and let us know. And then, yeah, don't forget to tell your friends to check out the show. We really appreciate it. We couldn't do this without you guys. Now, this has been Getting Geeky with Game Relief. Game Relief out. Well, don't forget, you want to stay geeky, you want to keep your geekhood, bring others into the geek fold, and get geeky with us. This has been Game Relief, and Game Relief out.
Game Relief levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.